Now let's talk about how we can iterate over a dictionary. Over here I have a dictionary of prices where my keys are different fruits and the values are their prices. So if I do for item in prices, this implicitly is printing out the keys of my items over here. So each item actually becomes more of an item key, and that is done implicitly for you. Now, if you were to be explicit about that, we could copy this. Let me just paste it over here. Now, instead of looping over prices, the dictionary itself, we could also ask for the keys view. So over here, if I run this, we should get the same exact thing. However, the distinction here is that this was implicit, while this here was explicit. Now, if you wanted to iterate over the values in your dictionary, this is where you would use the values view. So if I do this, now let me rename that just for clarity. This is actually going to be the item value or price or whatever I want to call it. If I run this, here we go, we get the values, we don't get the keys. If you were to iterate over both at the same time, this is where we would use the last view, which is the items view. Now, because we know this is going to be returning a tuple where the first item is going to be the key, the second item is going to be the value, we could also unpack that into fruit and price. And over here, let's do fruit is, put a $sign, and price. And if I run this, now we are iterating over all the items, including the key and the value. We're iterating over the key value pair. One thing to note about dictionary views is that they are similar to database views, where if the underlying content changes, so do the values of those views without you having to re-execute them again. Let me show you what I mean by that. Over here, if I create a new variable and let's call it KS for keys, and this will equal prices.keys, and let's say I went ahead and printed KS. Now we get all the keys from our current dictionary. If I went ahead and added another item, let's say dates equal $4. If I print KS again, notice I did not have to redefine what KS is, so I'm not changing the value, I'm just executing it as is. We get back the new key added on as well. So it is a live and dynamic value that keeps updating as the value changes over the time or the lifetime of your program here. Now, what if we wanted to iterate over our dictionary in a sorted manner, where we're getting them in a particular order? For that, we're going to use the sorted function, which we've already talked about in earlier videos, but let me go ahead and show you what that would look like. So I could do for item in sorted prices. Now keep in mind, because I wasn't explicit about what is it exactly that I'm sorting, by default it's going to be sorting the dictionary by the keys. So if I do item, we get back the list in a lexicographical order, or basically the order in which it appears in your dictionary. Now, what if I wanted to order the values? So basically I wanted to see the cheapest ones first and then the second cheapest, so on and so forth. Here, let me copy this and do that in a different cell. Instead of looping over the prices, I could specify values, but because I actually want to be able to see what is the key associated with each one of those values, I'm going to get all the items. Now, the sorted method here actually allows us to provide a key, which is basically a custom function that you can provide to define how you want the list to be ordered. So here we're going to use lambda functions, and we're basically iterating over key values. So we're basically saying for each key value pair, here is what we want you to sort this list by, or sort this dictionary by. And this is going to be the key value at index 1, basically meaning that I want you to sort this list based on whatever the value of the second item in the key value pair, which in our case, that would be the value itself. Let me correct this because this needs to be items And here we go. In the print, let me also print out whatever the item is and the price. And let's unpack that over here as well. So let me run it. Here we go. We get bananas first. That is the cheapest item. Then apples, then cherries, then dates. All right. So what if I wanted to order this in the reverse, where I want to see that the most expensive one first, then the second most expensive, so on and so forth. Now you have two ways of doing that. I could either just update my lambda function by including a negative right in front of my the value that I'm going to be ordering this list by, and that will yield something that looks like this, where we get dates first. Or we could also use the built-in property to our sorted function. So not only I would be providing a key, but I would also provide a property called reverse, and we set that to true. And here we go, we get that same result. Now a little exercise here. What if I wanted to capture only the two most expensive items? How would I go about doing that? I encourage you to pause the video and try this on your own first. And now here we go. All right, so here I'm gonna do two most expensive. Let me get our sorted key value pair, or basically the prices by items. Here I know that this is already returning everything in the correct order, but we could start using the slicing method and basically ask for everything up until the second item, or excluding the item in the second position or in the second index. So basically 0, 1, 2. So that is actually the third item, the third position. But in that case, if I print out what our two most expensive items are, we will get back a tuple, or a list of tuples, where the first item is dates, the second is cherries.